Hi everybody, here is Fabio, and today we're gonna discuss all of the changes that have occurred to every single healing spec in the latest weeks in the Battle for Azeroth Alpha, and we will see together what is going to be the best healing composition that you could possibly have when Battle for Azeroth launches. Now, I'm a Mythic Raider myself. I've raided Heroic/Mythic since the time of Cataclysm. I've played as my main every single healing spec that is in the game, and I've been tracking all of the changes that Blizzard have made to every single healing specs in the Battle for Azeroth Alpha, so I will guide you through very quickly in this video. Now, first of all, as you can see, we will not be able to talk about throughput in this video. It's way too early to talk about throughput. We will have many changes before the Battle for Azeroth launches to the power level of every single spell of the healers, so it's not a matter of throughput today. But as you can see also in Legion, the healers have been pretty much aligned as throughput. The maximum difference that we had in average was 3.5%, so basically negligible. Throughput, trust me, is not gonna be a problem. We're talking about utility now. And in the latest couple of weeks, we had very important changes to many specs, especially the Mistweaver, actually. So Blizzard really tried to keep them more balanced than what they've been before, and as you can see now, I've tried to group them in 3 different tiers. This is because the difference between the healer spec is very much narrow now. So without further ado, let's get started. And we see in position number 6 now the Holy Priest. Yes. Now, let's see what Blizzard has added to this spec, because it had a nice addition in Symbol of Hope. Symbol of Hope is a very nice ability. I thought at the beginning that it would grant 12% mana to all of the other healers, but actually if you read carefully, it says 2% for 6 seconds, that is the channel that you have to do, of the missing mana. So it's more effective when you are basically because it's 2% of the missing mana actually. So this makes this spell much more hard to master, because you need to make sure that everybody is with low mana level, and there has to be low damage required, because you have to stand still and you cannot heal. So it is an ability that most of the time will not grant 12% of mana to all of the other healers. Having said that, it's a powerful tool, because I expect that in average it will grant 6% of mana to all of the healers. So it's quite powerful indeed, even if it's not 12%. And it's a tool that is specific of a Holy Priest. You can get this tool only if you're bringing a Holy Priest in your raid. The other amazing thing that they've given to the Holy Priest is a new raid CD called Holy Word Salvation. I love that design, it's so fun. It starts from a 12 minutes cooldown and it gets reduced every time you cast a Holy Word. So very fun mechanic there. But the power level of this CD is ludicrous, because it casts basically a heal on every single raid member and applies renew on them and applies 2 stacks of Prayer of Mending. So it's very powerful. It's a burst and it's a sustained healing at the same time. Unfortunately, it's gonna be a little bit difficult to manage this strange cooldown. And guys, my goal in this video is to go very quickly, healer by healer, on the tools that they are bringing in the raid, but you can check out my channel and you will find a very fresh and new guide on the Holy Priest changes that just occurred in the Battle for Azeroth Alpha, so please go check that out, because you have fairly 20 minutes all on the Holy Priest, so if that's your spec, go check it out, it's worth it. They have a very good tank CD, they have good spread out healing, obviously. Unfortunately, we are losing the cape. The cape has been so fun during Legion, and it's a shame that they lose it. I hoped that Blizzard will decide to give visibility to the Holy Priest as baseline, also because it has this nice synergy with the Spirit of Redemption, which is an ability that the Holy Priest has always had, basically. And what are the weaknesses of the Holy Priest? Not a great survivability, and especially not a good healing on the move. Even if we had a change to Renew, Renew now reduces the cooldown of Holy Word Sanctify. This is very important because it's an indirect buff to Renew. So what is the problem of the Holy Priest? Why is it in 6th position? Well, nothing really. Holy Priest doesn't have a specific problem. It's just that it's lacking of other tools, other particular special tools that other healers bring to the raid, and the Holy Priest doesn't. But as you can see, there are some specific things that Blizzard is giving to the Holy Priest, so it's going to be very viable to bring a Holy Priest in your raid. And as I said at the beginning, we are gonna have very, very close to each other value of the different specs now. So you're gonna be totally fine bringing a Holy Priest, I can assure you. And most of all, if you're planning on playing a Holy Priest, please consider to practice your off-spec, the Discipline Priest. This because if you are able to play both spec at a high level, then you have an amazing variety of tools. You have really an arsenal that you can bring to the raid, and depending on the fight you can switch Holy or Disc, because for sure there are gonna be some fights that will not favor Disc, and Holy will be doing great in those fights. So let's move forward, and we see in position number 5 the Resto Druid. Yes, yes, dear friends, Druid. The Druid is one of the spec, probably the spec that I find more fun to play, just because I love to heal with the healing over time effects. Now let's see what is going on with the Resto Druid. Obviously they are losing some power from their tank CDs that goes down from 30% to 20%, losing the artifact weapon, and it is quite important. The most important change probably is Tranquility. Now it's stationary because it was straight off the artifact weapon. So this actually reduces their capability to heal on the move. So they will remain the absolute best healer on the move if we don't consider the raid CD. Actually, this power of the Resto Druid to be able to heal on the move is one of the strengths that is very much appreciated in a raid mythic progression, because normally you have several fights in a raid tier where healing on the move is gonna be very important. Another good thing about the Resto Druid is their healing over time style, because as the damage enters, as a big hit enters, you already have heals that ticks on most of your raid, and this could make a difference. This could save somebody's life, because it could give the other healer the time that they need to heal the raid members before they die. So the healing over time smooths out the peak of damage that you might have in a fight. Now let's go through all of the utilities of a Resto Druid. They have Tranquility, which is a strong raid CD. Now Tranquility, as you know, has a healing over time effect, which is great because it spreads out a little bit more the power of Tranquility that most of the time was over healing for a decent amount. And again, I have a dedicated video on my channel on Resto Druid, so go check that out if that's your thing, because I cover all of these details much more in depth of what I can do in this video. Resto Druid have a very good versatile healing, because they have a great healing if the raid can be stacked up, and they have very good healing also if the raid is spread out. And as always, Resto Druid have very good mobility and very good survivability, even if the bear form has been nerfed a little bit as damage reduction. It still remain one of the best healer as mobility and survivability. One of the things that worries me the most about the Resto Druid is the short rejuvenation. My worry is that rejuvenation will run out too fast. Well, basically, there will be less player affected by our rejuvenation at every single time. So I'm still unsure about the effect of this short rejuvenation, but I think it might become an issue, and it's something that Blizzard might decide to address before starting with Battle for Azeroth, actually. We also had another change to the Resto Druid from the time that I made the last video about it, which is photosynthesis. Unfortunately, currently photosynthesis is not that great of a talent, and it can have only very niche application where you have absolute consistent damage and no spikes, because in order to take photosynthesis you have to pass on Flourish, which is currently a very big deal because Flourish has the essence of Ganir baked into it, and it can provide a very nice burst of healing. So let's move forward now, and always in tier 3, position number 4, we find the monk, the Mistweaver monk. The Mistweaver monk had a lot of changes since the last time, and please, this time you really need to go check out the video that I made about the Mistweaver monk, even if you're not a monk, because there are a lot of changes and it seems very much fun going to play Mistweaver monk in Battle for Azeroth. They've changed and they added a synergy, a very nice synergy between Renew and Mist and Vivify. This synergy will empower Vivify and will empower the scalability of Vivify. It will become better and better during the expansion as our secondary stat will grow, but the power of Vivify and this synergy will become better and better. The other very important change is the talent, the raw 100 talent. They added Rising Mist talent, where basically with your Rising Sun Kick you heal for 20% of spell power anybody in your raid that is affected by your hot of coming from Essence Font or Renewing Mist or Enveloping Mist. This will mean, since Essence Font can hit up to 18 target, that with this kick you can heal by 20% of spell power theoretically all of your raid, and that is quite good. That is quite good. This talent, I mean, I love it because not only it's instant, it's not a crazy amount because it's only 20%, while, for example, Essence Font heals for 33% of spell power, but it's in a global, it's a single global. Essence Font lasts for longer, so the HPS of Rising Mist is not that bad. And it's a DPS spell that you have to mix in your healing rotation, and I like it again. Anyway, very fun and empowers the burst capability, the ride burst capability of the Mistweaver monk. So it's a very interesting tool. It's not overpowered, but it is an addition. It's something that they didn't have before. So it's more burst and it's more healing on the move because it's a global, it's an instant ability, and as long as you have the boss that you can hit, it's something that you can absolutely do on the move. They mixed around also the mobility and survivability talent, and now you have a lot of flexibility about what to choose. If you want to go ham on mobility or if you want to have 3 different damage reduction to use during your fight. So the Mistweaver monk received a lot of interesting toys to play around. There is a lot of flexibility there. There is synergies between spells. There is more capability to heal on the move. Obviously, Revival it's not the best healing CD in the game, I believe, but it's good. It's nice that dispels everybody, and it can absolutely be casted on the move. So if we factor Revival in the mix, the Mistweaver monk gets very close to the healing on the move capability of a Resto Druid. So it's a very interesting choice. They've also buffed the absorption that cocoons provide. is still absolutely the weakest tank CD in the game. I mean, it would be much better to add a damage reduction, even just 10% to it, but it starts to be something decent. It starts to be something that can be considered a tank CD, even if it's very weak. So all in all, the Mistweaver Monk is gonna be one of the best choices that you can have, and I bet that it's also because the Mistweaver Monk had such a low representation, especially toward the end of Legion. It didn't start strong, but it went weaker and weaker representation of the Mistweaver Monk in Legion. I believe that Blizzard recognized that, and they put a lot of focus on reworking this spec. And my first impression is that they've done an amazing job. If you ever thought about playing a Mistweaver, I think that Battle for Azeroth should be the right expansion to do so. Again, check out my guide with all of the details about it. Let's move forward, and we've completed tier 3 and we are going into tier 2. Position number 3, the Discipline Priest. Yes, guys. Well, not a lot of changes in the last 2 weeks, so let's just recap what Blizzard has decided to give as a gift to our friends Discipline Priest. Well, they always had the barrier, tank CD, the best, pain suppression, burst healing. It will remain. It's something specific of a healing style of a Discipline Priest. You prepare all of your atonement and then you have your burst of damage that will create a burst of healing. Our rework of Mastery, very nice. On top of that, they have a new talent called Lenience, where they apply a 3% damage reduction to everybody that is affected by atonement. Very, very important in a raid, Mythic Raid progression. They also can raid shield everybody with Rapture, with the power of the shield, and the Rapture cooldown has been reduced from 2 minutes to 1.5 minutes, which is a big deal. They can have a talent called Luminous Barrier. It is competing with Evangelism, so probably most of the time it will not be the best HPS talent that you can take, but it is a utility. And in specific fights, you have this tool at your disposal. It might be very important. They can put out some damage, might be not great, but it's some damage. What are the downsides of a Discipline Priest? It needs preparation. It needs to put out the atonement in advance, and when the damage enters, you already have to have your atonement out. Otherwise, your reaction time is gonna be too long, and the other healers will just take care of it, and you're too slow. So this preparation makes it that you're good in a fight where all the damage is predictable, but you're not that great in a fight where it's not possible to know in advance when the damage is going to enter. Especially, I mean, if you're playing not in a mythic progression, but in normal or heroic, this might be a big problem for you, because most of the time in normal, in heroic, you have many people messing it up, and it's not gonna cause a wipe, and the healer needs to take care of that. And if you're a Discipline Priest, this will screw you up a little bit because you cannot plan for it. You cannot plan for everybody else's mistakes. In Mythic is not that big of a deal, because when there are mistakes, it's a wipe most of the time. So there's not that much to heal. So especially in Mythic progression, especially going toward the last bosses of a Mythic progression, Discipline Priest will always tend to be more and more important. They've given all this variety of tools, so it's not one specific thing that makes Discipline Priest that important, but it's all of these things together. Oh well, yes, they don't have a good personal damage reduction as the Holy Priest, by the way. Again, very good healer, and if you're playing Discipline Priest, please make sure that you can study and practice your spec, your holy spec, because as I said, you might have fights like Imonar, where the boss is not targetable, or where the damage is not predictable. it might happen. Most of the fights are not like that, but normally there are a couple of fights like that, and being able to play effectively your Holy off-spec is gonna be very important. And again, Holy brings to the raid some important tools, is not bad at all, so please be prepared, be ready to play both spec if you feel like it, because it's gonna be very viable for your raid leader. And that's it for the Discipline Priest, and we move forward, and we all know what's gonna happen. We all know who is gonna be on the throne. We'll never dethrone the Paladin. Blizzard decided to give to the Paladin this very special role. So we find in position number 2 the Resto Shaman. If you've seen my previous video about the best healer composition in Battle for Azeroth, you remember that Resto Shaman was not in second place. Actually, it was in third place. And why is now in second place? Because you know it, I know it. We have Cloudburst Totem back. Yes, Cloudburst Totem. I love that spell. And well, it's not just fun. I love it because it's a lot of fun to prepare for it, to use it effectively. But it's not just that. So Cloudburst Totem, if you don't know it, had its overheal component back into it. Now it collects also the overhealing. There has been a time in the alpha where Cloudburst Totem was not collecting the overhealing, and that was a big nerf to the spell. Not only to the power of a spell, but also to the situation where you can use this spell, because sometimes, it's not most of the time, but sometimes you want to precast Cloudburst Totem and spam a few spells in order to feed Cloudburst Totem, and as soon as the damage enters, you have this initial burst of healing. This burst of healing normally is not great because you don't want to spam over healing just for the sake of feeding your Cloudburst Totem, but it is something, and this something, as I was saying before for the healing over time of the Resto Druid, this something could make the difference, could give you the time to properly heal everybody before they die. So this is why it's such a powerful tool. So this is one application of Cloudburst Totem. The other application is just to empower your burst ability and make it more bursty, because it collects the 25% of all the healing you do. So if you're popping Ascendance, or if you're popping Healing Tide or whatever, it's gonna feed Cloudburst Totem and it's gonna be great. So this is a very powerful tool that makes the healing style of the Resto Shaman more bursty, and we know that in a mythic progression burst healing is very viable. We are still losing Ancestral Guidance. This is very sad, and Cloudburst Totem still replaces Healing Stream Totem, but it's not the end of the world. They will make the throughput balance between the healer, so I think that the burst potential of Resto Shaman will be there. It's not going to be as good as it has been in Legion, the burst potential, but it's going to be there for sure, and this tool is very versatile and very viable. So why else to bring a Resto Shaman? For the usual suspect, the Spirit Claim Totem is very viable, together with Darkness. The CD of the Demon Hunter is even better. It's very good in stacked up healing, and they have this new tool that they've given to the Resto Shaman in Legion called the Ancestral Protection Totem, that can be very important in some specific fight when you know that there is a mechanic with crazy damage, but for a limited period of time, in a limited area, where you're increasing the HP of everybody by 10%, which is already very viable in Mythic progression. And also, if somebody's died, you have an extra rest for it. It has been used especially toward the end bosses, you know, Keep Jaden, Argus, Agramar. It's something that it has been used very much, and it is powerful. So what are the weaknesses of Resto Shaman? As always, low spread out healing. If the fight is spread out, if we have an avatar fight, it's gonna be a tough fight for the rest of Shaman. And no tank CD, unfortunately, no tank CD at all. But still, nevertheless, because of a stacked up healing, because of Spirit Link Totem, because of the burst potential of the rest of Shaman, I believe that he's gonna stay in this sweet spot for your Battle for Azeroth Mythic progression. And now, as we all know, as we have all said, we have in position number 1 the Holy Paladin. And why is that? Well, first of all, because the Holy Paladin remains the only tank healer in the game. If you ever played as a healer in a Mythic progression, you have always noticed the difference if you have a Holy Paladin in your healing core position or if you don't. So this makes the difference on how many times a tank dies. And in progression, it could speed up your Mythic progression significantly. So I think that in the current meta, on how things stands in the beta, sorry, now we are in the beta, in Battle for Azeroth, the Holy Paladin is the only mandatory healer that you really need to have for your Mythic progression. You can do your Mythic progression without the rest of Shaman, without the Disciplined Priest. Is not ideal, but you can do it. Without Holy Paladin, it is gonna be tougher, significantly tougher. So if you don't have a Holy Paladin, go look for a good Holy Paladin, because that makes a difference. But on top of that, they can provide many other things that are listed here: immunity, blessing of protection, hands of freedom, wide damage reduction, some damage. They have the downside of having very low mobility, but it's not the end of the world most of the time. It's very important, they are losing their burst healing capability. It has been nerfed to the ground, basically, because they are losing the ring, the legendary ring, and they are losing our aura of sacrifice. It has been changed. It now looks a lot similar to Devotion Aura, actually. From what I can tell, I don't like it that much, because to me it sounds too similar to Devotion Aura, because it redirects to you all of them 30% of the damage that is going on in your raid, and this damage is reduced by 75%. So now you have to deal with this crazy amount of damage that is coming in. You can throw your immunity and deal with that in that way, and this way you are taking the 30% of damage reduction instead of a 20% of Devotion Aura. But it looks very similar to the Devotion Aura to me. So, well, I don't like it just because it doesn't seem too fun to me. But I agree on the fact that Holy Paladin needed to get some of their tool nerfed, because I know you're Holy Paladin, you're not gonna be happy to hear it, but you're really very, very much important for a Mythic progression. And this change to Aura of Sacrifice will basically remove the crazy burst healing potential that they had, and we've been able to see it in Agramar, for example. What they could do in the intermission phase was unbelievable. So in conclusion, what is going to be the best healing composition in Battle for Azeroth? A Holy Paladin, a Resto Shaman, a Disciplined Priest. I know, most of you will say that it's the same that have been in Legion. It's not actually true, because it's true for the Holy Paladin and the Resto Shaman were the only two really mandatory healers that you could have. But the Disciplined Priest, especially in the first half of Legion, were one of the least represented spec. Even in a Mythic progression, you wouldn't see too many Disciplined Priests. I think that in Battle for Azeroth, Disciplined Priest in Mythic fight will be amazing, and it's in tier 2. The Mistweaver Monk is gonna be one of the most interesting spec, but again, as I said, they are very close to each other. And at that point, what is the best? Variety. And this is what actually I think Blizzard wants, because at that point, for the healer especially, it is important to have as many tools at your disposal as you could possibly have. So here you have it, guys. The difference between the specs have been narrowed down. as I said, because the Paladin have lost in the last 2 weeks from when I made the last video about it. The Holy Paladin have lost completely, or well, most of their burst healing potential. We had amazing changes to the monk, some tweaks here and there, and again, if you're interested in a specific spec, please go into my channel and see if there is a specific guy on it. There is basically for every healer except for the Discipline Priest. Is gonna come out in a couple of days, and then I will do a recap of all the little changes that are going on, because the major overall of every single spec has been done. There are already the bases on which Blizzard will build upon. And as you see, for example, for the rest of Druid with the new talent Photosynthesis, I believe that Blizzard will put out some changes, some small changes here and there, test them out, see if they make sense, if they need to be buffed or nerfed. So I will keep commenting on those without making a big video spec by spec, unless there are big things going on. So make sure you subscribe to my channel in order to keep updated with all of these changes, and let me know what you think, guys. Let me know what is going to be the most fun spec to play in your opinion in Battle for Azeroth. I think you already understood my favorites. I'm really curious to try out the Discipline Priest, just of the power level, just of the variety of the tool that they can bring in a mythic progression. So I'm leveling a priest myself, my Lightforged Draenei priest, and well, let me know what you're planning on playing in Battle for Azeroth, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Ciao!